So you may be wondering, what exactly did Limerick City Council do to lend a hand? Well, they removed the clippings for us, which was a really big help, as we would have had to either hire a waste removal company or remove it ourselves, which would have taken several trips to the recycle centre in Mungret to get rid of it all. Either way, it would have cost us a few bob. I had been trying unsuccessfully since October last year to get the council to cut back the briars. Emails had been exchanged, promises were made, but nothing was being done. As 2024 dawned, I was resigned to getting the job done myself by organising a community clean-up. And by organise, I mean that weather and time permitting, I would just start the work and my neighbours and family might join in, as they have often done in the past, if they are free, willing and able. On this occasion, it was my two eldest sons that lent a hand, and we ended up doing the entire boreen, not just the path. Many hands make light work. Now, in March, I decided to make one last attempt, and I contacted the council again by calling their customer services, and this time I discovered that they had adopted a new approach to dealing with requests. They took my contact details and emailed me an acknowledgement with a case number to track the progress of my request. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. In my 23 years as a community activist, I have never been given a case number that I could refer to. Usually, I would have to give all the details again, leaving my name and number so that someone could never call me back. Yes, they would never call you back. Now, you may be asking yourself, why didn't I just sit back and wait for the council to turn up and do the work? Well, unfortunately, the council's park maintenance team do not have sufficient personnel and equipment to provide a speedy service, and our out of sight and out of mind little boreen was not considered a top priority. It could have been another month or even more before they got round to cutting back the briars, by which time it would be in an even worse state. I could not change that reality, so I decided to expedite the matter and get them to collect the clippings after the hard work was done, which was a much less demanding request, and therefore more likely to be done sooner rather than later, which it was in this case. Over the past 20 years, Limerick Council has steadily reduced its own ability to provide a cleansing service, and now it relies heavily on subcontractors to do the job. 10 years ago, a council road sweeper would drive up and down our boreen at least once a month. These days, we are lucky if it's once a year. So these days, I regularly litter pick our boreen to keep it rubbish and needle free. Used heroin needles became a problem for us in 2019 as drug addicts discovered that our out of sight, out of mind Boreen was a convenient place to shoot up. I would collect used needles in a plastic container and hand them in to the nearest pharmacy that operated a needle exchange program. However, during the lockdown in 2020, all of the pharmacies stopped participating in the program and I had to hand them in to the Garda station for them to be disposed of safely. Then, in the summer of 2021, I was informed by the Gardaí that they no longer had biohazard bins to dispose of the needles in the station, which I found bizarre because at the time they were all wearing face masks and gloves, and surely those should have been disposed of safely in a biohazard bin. I was directed by the Gardaí to contact Anna Liffey Midwest, the organisation that offers a low threshold addiction service in the Midwest region. They also run a needle exchange programme, supplying drug addicts with clean needles and other drug paraphernalia such as crack pipes for free. I made contact with them and after several false starts I finally got them to call to our area. They agreed to take the used needles from me on that occasion, but in future they said I was to report any drug litter that I found to the council. They also promised to return and do some outreach work, speaking with the addicts and asking them not to shoot up in our Boreen. But I never saw or heard from them again. I did report the drug litter several times to the council, and after a month of reporting there was no sign of anyone coming and the used needles were becoming more numerous. So I started collecting them again, but this time I decided to do my own outreach work and speak with the addicts, asking them to refrain from shooting up on our Boreen, especially during the day when school children were going to and from school. I was of course polite and courteous and treated them with the same respect that I would any other human being. This had a positive impact. Most of them were happy to oblige and the number of needles I was finding daily started to go down. But I still had the problem of what to do with the used needles I had already collected. Thankfully, in 2022, I discovered that the Limerick Civic Trust were picking up the slack for the council and had started a campaign to actively respond to the ever-increasing scourge of drug litter in our beautiful city. They provided me with a sharps container and they will collect it for me when it is full. More recently, I met with our local Garda superintendent to get extra Garda patrols for the area, so as to deter such activity, and I'm pleased to say that I hadn't found any used needles since before Christmas last year, until the 3 I discovered during our recent cleanup, and I would say that they had been hidden from view for quite a while. Now, I didn't always believe in taking actions like community cleanups. There was once a time when I believed that simply pointing out what was wrong was all that I should be doing. When I founded our Residents Association in 2003, our main focus was to get the council to take charge of the 3 burnt out houses, and I naively believed that the worse the place looked, the more embarrassed the council would be into fixing it for us. I eventually realised that the council officials who had the power to help us didn't have to look at what we had to look at every day. They didn't live here. It didn't really bother them how bad it got for us. So we changed tactics and started to take ownership of our area. Painting the 3 burnt out houses was a real turning point as it helped to put a stop to the illegal dumping and rubbish fires. Taking ownership of our area and making things better for ourselves was the way to go. I would encourage everyone to get involved in their local residents association, or start one if there isn't one already in your area. Stop complaining about the state of the place and ask yourself, what can I do to lend myself to a solution? Become a catalyst for positive change in your neighbourhood. Actively participate in actions that will improve your own community for the benefit of you, your family and your neighbours. My sincere thanks to Limerick City County Council for collecting the clippings, and while I'm at it, my sincere thanks for the remedial works they carried out last year at our request, installing additional fencing to prevent trespass and the kissing gates to prevent wandering horses straying into our area and out onto the main Rossbrine Road. Come on. Come on. And I hasten to add, all of this was achieved without us having to contact a single councillor or TD. Knowing how the system actually works is half the battle. But sometimes you do really need to be the change that you want to see. I am absolutely delighted with our council's new case number system. It'll make things so much easier for us going forward. What sort of system does your council use? Let me know in the comments. And be sure and subscribe to my channel if you're new, and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If the weather improves and I have the time, I think I'll give that old city boundary marker a fresh coat of paint. Until the next time, be seeing you.